Originally, the term cry referred to the first skirmish between the Katipuneros and the civil guards, Guardia Civil. Other definitions of the term have been made over the years, but today it is popularly understood to refer to the tearing of community tax, cedulas personales, by the rebels to mark their separation from Spain. This was literally accompanied by patriotic shouts.
Teodoro Agoncillo defined the cry as the tearing of cedulas departing from President. His version was based on the later testimonies of Pio Valenzuela and others who claimed the cry took place in Pugadlawin instead of Balintawak.
The Cry of Pugadlawin, Filipino, Sigaw ng Pugadlawin, Spanish, Grito de Pugadlawin, was the beginning of the Philippine Revolution against the Spanish Empire. At the close of August 1896, members of the Katipunan Secret Society or the Katipuneros, led by Andres Bonifacio, rose up in revolt somewhere in an area referred to as Caloocan, wider than the jurisdiction of present-day Caloocan, which may have overlapped into present-day Quezon City.
The author is a grandson of Dr. Pio Valenzuela. He has written a book entitled Dr. Pio Valenzuela and the Katipunan, published by the National Historical Institute in 1992 and revised 1996. He is a fellow emeritus of the Architects of the Philippines and a former member of the Board Architecture Professional Regulation Commission.
Based on the excerpts from memoirs of Dr. Pio Valenzuela from the book Minutes of Katipunan, published by National Heroes Commission in 1964, and was featured by Sunday Times Magazine entitled Ang Kalayaan on June 8, 1969. The document was produced in Manila, showing 11.8 kilometers of where the event happened.
This controversial version of the Cry of the Pugadlawin has been authorized by no other than Dr. Pio Valenzuela, who happened to be the eyewitness himself of the event. In his first version, he told that the prime staging point of the cry was in Balintawak on Wednesday of August 26, 1896. He held this account when the happenings of events are still vivid in his memory. On the other hand, later in his life, and with a fading memory, he wrote his memoirs of the revolution without consulting the written documents of the Philippine Revolution and claimed that the cry took place at Pugadlawin on August 23, 1896.
Not all statements describe the tearing of cedulas in the last days of August, but the version of Agoncillo, which was based on the later statements of Pio Valenzuela, including the others who insisted that the cry happened in Pugadlawin instead of Balintawak, was the source of the current stance of the Philippines government official commemorations. Bonifacio and many others had escaped to Pugadlawin. During their meeting at the house of Juan Ramos on August 23, 1896, Bonifacio urged his supporters to tear into pieces their cedulas residence certificates as a sign of revolt against the Spanish government. 2 decades after the revolution, the celebration of the cry was not a contentious issue. Ceremonies were held both in Kangkong, where KKK veterans agreed the Pasha has been taken, and in Balintawak, where the famous statue of Apollo waving, flag-holding Katipunero stood to commemorate the unang laban fought a few kilometers to the northeast.
Why Pugadlawin, Balintawak? Balintawak, they insisted in the strict narrow sense a particular barrio to the east of Caloocan. With delineated boundaries was not where the cry had occurred. The cry had occurred, they said, at a place known as Pugadlawin. In contemporary records, alas, and on contemporary maps, the name Pugadlawin cannot be found anywhere. Isang pagkakamali ang sabing mayroong Pugadlawin sa Caloocan. The scholars of Ronyo G. Calderon decided after a fruitless search way back in 1920s.
Valenzuela recalled that the Pugadlawin was in Pasong Tamo, sa loob na ngayong Pasong Tamo. In 1928, Valenzuela went to Pasong Tamo to commemorate the cry together with 4 other well-known KKK veterans. Gregoria de Jesus, Bonifacio's widow, Bricio Pantas, and the brothers Alfonso and Cipriano Pacheco. The newspaper La Opinion carried this photograph of the group, who according to the caption were standing around the exact spot marked with an X where 1,000 bolos had. On this occasion, it therefore seems the cry was taken to mean the Unang Labanan, which had indeed taken place near Pasong Tamo. At around the same time as this commemoration, in either 1928 or 1929, Pio Valenzuela, Bricio Pantas, and Cipriano Pacheco issued a joint statement to the effect that the cry had taken place not in Balintawak, where the monument had been erected, but in the place known by the name of Pugadlawin. This is the statement as published in the Philippines Free Press in November 1930.
The trip to Pugadlawin in 1940, Serrano recalls, was organized by Eulogio B. Rodriguez in his capacity as chairman of the Philippine Historical Committee for the purpose of first, verifying the date of the cry, second, ascertaining the truth of a report that Bonifacio and some members of Katipunan had borrowed certain important documents of the Katipunan there, and third, locating the exact spot where the house of Tandang Sora stood. After picking up the 3 veterans, Serrano relates the party negotiated a distance by car up to Pasong Tamo and hiked about an hour to Pugadlawin. Official recognition of Pugadlawin, wherever it was, Agoncillo was the preeminent historian of the day, and the 1896 revolution was among his special fields. It was mainly upon his advice, is commonly said, that the Philippine government ruled that the term Cry of Balintawak should be discarded in favor of Cry of Pugadlawin. This change was signaled formally in 1963 by President Macapagal, whose proclamation 149 declared that the 67th anniversary of the Cry of Pugadlawin on August 23 would be a special public holiday in Quezon City, where the event took place. By the event of August 23, Proclamation 149 meant the Pasya not Unang Laban.
Today, the cry continues to be officially marked in Bahay Turo almost by default. By the force of inertia, Pugadlawin in Bahay Turo retains its official status, not because there is any supporting evidence for the site, but because nobody has pushed the case for the actual site. The site that Katipunan veterans marked a century ago, the site of Apolonio Samson's house in Kangkong.